Alright, time to start releasing stuff now. So why don't we show this video, shall we? Pause to read. Why do you like to make it seem like he's just a victim? Oh, it's just a little childhood trauma. You know what? Serial killers had childhood trauma too. Do not play with me. So let's dissect this, yeah? This first part right here, me and my husband got into a horrific fight. From what I heard, because of what he said, y'all got into a actual fight. Not like a yelling fight, not a screaming match, a actual fight. Now, I did check your record and your criminal histories. So I don't exactly find your side of the case with the domestic violence, but I sure do find the dozens of his. So yeah, you guys got into a horrible fight and you broke up. I was angry with him and refused to answer his calls or messages. He has horrible childhood trauma, and his trauma response was to run and do whatever he had to survive. That's what you're going with? Seriously? You two separated. He left. That's what happens with breakups. And you're gonna say that him getting into a relationship with another person was just to survive. Seriously? Not only did he physically assault her, but you're saying that he used her. Used her for a place to stay. But I mean, yeah, such a great person. And then you justify it with childhood trauma. It's no excuse. Serial killers had childhood trauma too. I have childhood trauma too. She has childhood trauma too. Childhood trauma isn't an excuse either. It's not an excuse for him. It wasn't an excuse for serial killers. It's not an excuse for anybody. She has childhood trauma too. I don't see you excusing her behavior. I have childhood trauma too. And you know what you did? You called me an addict when I'm not. Childhood trauma is no excuse to assault another person. Childhood trauma is not an excuse to abuse people. Learn the difference between an explanation and an excuse, and stop using the explanation to justify the really wrong behavior that he committed. He got himself into a situationship. You've got to be kidding with me right now. Let me show you the definition of a situationship. What did that say? Oh yeah. A relationship not characterized by boundaries or clearly defined is a situationship. Now let me show you this screenshot. So what is this exactly? That's a screenshot from your husband when you and him were not together and he was in a situationship. Sorry, honey, but it wasn't a situationship. Okay, it was a legitimate relationship. They were living together. They had established they were in a relationship, and they had done so publicly. So no, there was no situationship. You have just created that idea in your head to either A, make yourself the victim, or B, make her look bad. Because you can't say that it was cheating anymore like you were before. Before you were calling it an affair. But you can't do that anymore. So you learn the word situationship and you think that's valid, but it's not. You two broke up. He moved on. Whether that was to survive or not, that's what he did. Being delusional isn't going to change that. We didn't talk for months. I stayed away. One day she decided she was going to swerve into my lane in January 2022 and talk about stuff she had no business coming at me about. Can you show screenshots of that? I'm sure we would all love to see. Because last that I checked, I'm pretty sure that she came at you because you were withholding his stuff and it wasn't really yours to keep. You were withholding it to keep it over his head, to have something to control him when he was no longer with you. If you're withholding his stuff, they had every right to ask you for it back. And considering the man had been assaulted by you, or at least that's what he said, of course he didn't want to call you to ask himself. So she did it for him. And she contacted you in order to get the rest of his stuff back because it was not yours to keep. I don't want to hear you talk about, oh, childhood trauma, oh, this, oh, that. You were withholding his property. You were being petty because he wasn't with you anymore, and you're being spiteful, so you kept his stuff, like any vindictive ex does. So stop acting like she was messaging you to be a crazy psycho new girlfriend. She was messaging you to get the rest of his stuff back. I'm sure that's why she thought she had anything to say. Yes, she's one of those females. She was literally trying to get his stuff back for him because you wouldn't give it to him. Are you serious? You were withholding his property. Oh, you're one of those kind of girls. Narcissist and an addict behavior. You can be a narcissist and an addict. This is not an excuse to assault women. A trauma response is no excuse. Like, God, this part still has me going. I've been told repeatedly that this isn't my story and that I should basically STFU, but no, this is a part of my story, a very unwanted chapter, but still part of my story, blah, 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 right? See, but here's the problem. Your story includes other people, and you don't want them to talk about it. In your story, you legitimately victim blame the woman that he assaulted. You diminish the fact that he's in jail for domestic violence. You ignore the fact that he beat my friend up like this. Oh, and trigger warning for others. This isn't just some oops-a-daisy, my bad. That is whole domestic violence and assault. You constantly try to silence her. You constantly tell her to mind her own business. But you're constantly lying about what he did and trying to act like he just got thrown in jail for some little addict issue. He assaulted another woman. Are you serious? Nobody is upset at you for telling your story. We're upset at you for lying about the story. You left him and y'all broke up. He used my friend and pretended to love her, according to you, in order to have a place to stay. He constantly did. Then he decided to beat her black and blue, which effectively disabled her. This was not no mere charge. It was violence. That is what happened. You pretending like it was just a little speed bump in your marriage is absolutely ridiculous. And my friend is part of that story. She's allowed to speak on it too. So stop lying and twisting what really happened to fit your delusional narrative to make yourself feel better. We know you're a narcissist and a control freak, but this is getting ridiculous. You've even said that she's a knockoff version of you, which, by the way, is like saying somebody's a copy. Don't believe me? What's this? Now, that's just what I found in a short amount of time. I have tons of videos in that album saved of you and screenshots of the things that you did and the proof that you've done in case you try to lie. Stuff you deleted, I still have it. Just because you deleted it doesn't mean it's gone forever. This is the internet. You can sit here and pretend that you haven't done anything wrong, but the fact of the matter is as long as you keep lying about what really happened and you keep twisting it, we will keep speaking up and we will keep correcting it. You are not going to sit here and clout chase a victim story, victim blame the victim, and gaslight the victim just to make yourself feel better about your failed marriage. That's not going to happen, and I'm not going to let it happen. So you can sit here all day long and you can pretend that you were the victim in this, but you weren't. You stood at her house and you harassed her. You have videos telling her to fight you, but then when she came there, you hid. And then you tried to play the victim whenever she said, well, come talk to me then. Even though you were running your mouth telling her you wanted to fight her. Before that, it just doesn't make sense. And yes, I have those videos, by the way. So say something about that being a lie and I'll post those too. Yeah? Stop pretending that you haven't done anything. Stop pretending your husband hasn't done anything. Stop pretending this is some little flaw in your marriage. He beat up a woman!